Madam Chair, and I also wish to associate myself with the remarks of Mr. Womack and Mr. Cole, especially as with Mr. Cole on the destructive effects of a continuing resolution on the Department of Defense in particular. As a proud member of this subcommittee, it is just deeply frustrating to see the core of a worthy defense bill, one that does meet the challenge of China, one that does position us adequately and correctly in the Indo-Pacific. Yes, one that does make the right decision on South and Mexico, one that does address pay raises for our enlisted people. All of that is good. But a bill that, as it stands before us today, I believe is fatally flawed by the interjection of superfluous, divisive, regressive issues that are detracting from our ability to maintain a mainstream bipartisan approach in a subcommittee that has always prided itself on exactly that. My colleagues have spoken to some of the issues that take us in this unfortunate direction, but I wish to speak to one in particular, and that is the treatment in this bill of the Department of Defense's efforts to address the effects on our national defense of climate change. Now, I know the two words will evoke all kinds of emotions right out of the box. Deep emotions, deep divisions that are born of years of demonization and mischaracterization. In fact, I kind of think to myself, why don't we just not talk about climate change itself? At least in this committee, let's just invent our own code for talking about this so we can all get on the same page. I thought about extreme unpredictable weather risks, and let's just go EUWR. But then, I thought to myself, well, extreme is, well, too extreme. So let's just drop that and just go with EUR. Let's just talk about this in a different way that gets to the heart and the merits of the issue, which is the impact of climate change, or EUR, on our national defense. And our national defense is under no illusions. Our Defense Department has focused realistically on this issue for almost a decade now, really longer than that if you want to take it back. But really, if you want to track it back to the formal parts of this, in 2016, a directive by the Department of Defense to focus on climate change adaptation and resilience. In 2019, a Department of Defense report required by this Congress in the NDAA on the effects of a changing climate on the Department of Defense. And then in 2021, a comprehensive climate risk assessment and climate adaptation planning document that outlined 5 lines of effort that needed to be pursued in terms of climate change, climate-informed decision-making, train and equip a climate-ready force, infrastructure to support military operations, supply chain resilience and innovation, enhance adaptation and resilience through collaboration on climate change related issues. And it also outlines some real world examples of the impacts of climate change on our military. Let's just take, for example, our naval bases. I have a huge one in my district. Naval bases, by definition, are on the ocean. They're not inland. They're not immune from sea level rise, from shoreline resilience. You could say the same in Guam, one of our most critical areas. We are relying, for example, on the projection of air power, on agile combat, on the distribution of runways that in many cases are susceptible to the impacts of climate change, and I can go on and on. And so this bill, although it does maintain many of the Department of Defense's efforts on climate change, deducts $715 million from climate change related initiatives by the Department of Defense. Now, it's difficult to tell exactly what that money is from the information presented right now, but the committee report does speak to the fact that the military will sometimes hide its initiatives behind the penumbra of climate change, and I'm sympathetic to that. We do need to provide that oversight as we take a look at our military. We can't allow them to use this as an excuse for programs to escape congressional oversight. But I suspect also that within this bill, once we go through this process, we will find many areas where we have a legitimate national security interest to maintain a focus on climate change. And I'm hoping as we go through here that we will conduct real oversight as opposed to just treat this as just another part of a divisive debate that has been incredibly unconstructive for us to get to zero by October 1st. Thank you very much.